How many here believe that above all of this, that there's a higher power, and that higher power is somehow connected to us, and that somehow it's connected to a place of love? Show of hands. Yeah, I like that. Now, if we take into consideration love and the feelings that love brings on, the distinctions of those feelings, how many here would agree that those are good feeling feelings? Yes? Awesome. Now, if we take the opposite of that, which is fear, is it safe to say then that when it comes to fear, it's the opposite, the not so good feelings? How many say would agree? Say, I agree. Awesome. Thank you. So the reason why I brought that up, we're going to circle back to that, but I'm going to get you to pause on that thought. But in the end, we're going to revisit that. Before I do, I want to share that the reason why I'm revisiting that is because I want to share that because it's those very distinctions that help me make choices in my life when I finally chose to pay attention and wake up. So before we continue, I want to ask you for your permission. I would love to share with you a little bit of my journey. So is that okay that I do that? Thank you. So I'm going to take you back to a conversation that I had with my father when I was 8 years old. And I'm standing here today knowing that my father, in his most loving way, was doing the best that he can with what he knew. So the conversation went like this. I asked him if it was okay for me to sleep over my friend's house. And he said no. And I said, well, how come my brother can and he's younger? And in a very loving way, he said, well, that's because your brother is a boy and you're a girl. And that was one of the very few conversations that I had with an authoritative figure when I was little that shifted my paradigm into thinking that I was limited, that I was boxed in. So any time that I was told not to do something, I really wanted to do it. And how that looked like for me growing up was in high school, I one day got suspended because I didn't want to conform. I got myself into a relationship that did not serve me and ended up being a physically abusive relationship. I got myself in with the wrong crowd and I discovered what partying meant. Even in my first corporate gig, I got fired because I didn't want to conform to the rules. What that did to my health was it took a toll. At my heaviest, I was 187 pounds. I was diagnosed with a bipolar condition, prescribed a concoction of pills. Needless to say, on the scale of awesomeness, my life probably measured a negative 0.1. So that was an indication for me that that strategy of not conforming wasn't really working. So I chose then to take an opposite direction, and this time conform, and just see how that works. So I invited into my life a relationship that seemingly fit the bill. So I looked at the checklist and I said, okay, he seemed like he was responsible, check. He had a stable career, check. He didn't want to kill me, my life wasn't threatened, perfect, check. And so what I created for myself was this template life. And seemingly it was perfect, but there was something missing. And so I really wanted the exuberance of life. I wanted the excitement. I wanted the passion, and I didn't feel like I had that at that moment. So I did what any logical person would do. Have an affair. Well, there's only so much pretending that you can do until the universe conspires to shake things up for you and say, hey, what you're doing is not working, pay attention. And sometimes it's when we have to be taken away everything and get to nothing to go back to discover everything. I can stand here today and say to you, and honestly say, that I am living my dream life. And I'm not saying that to impress you, but rather to impress upon you that it's when we go all in for ourselves, that's when the universe conspires to go all in for us. And when we can go all in for us, we can go all in for everyone else. Let's circle back now to what we were talking about in the beginning of the distinctions between love and fear. And if we connect that to a higher power that's connected to us, we can then safely say that it's connected to our truth, can we not? So on that note, if we use that as a guideline to determine and help us make decisions in our life, then ultimately that's always in alignment with our truth. And so I leave you with saying that in my very core, the highest truth in me honors the highest truth in each and every one of you. Thank you.